Hello there, this is Maddie Watson reporting for duty with her research project for Dr. Rose, and I decided to talk about uses in gratification theory and also uncertainty reduction theory because as I researched I started to see some similarities between the two and then also a lot of differences. So it's going to be a mystery of what I decide if they compare more or contrast more. And I also saw kind of that the uncertainty reduction theory kind of uses uses in gratification theory to satisfy its needs, I guess. So we'll get started by describing what uses in gratification theory is. It's an approach to understanding why and how people actively seek out specific media to satisfy their specific needs. So it's very audience-based, and from comtheory.org I found that in uses in gratification, people seek to satisfy 5 different needs, and they are cognitive needs, affective needs, personal integrative needs, social integrative needs, and tension-free needs. And so cognitive needs are the ones that satisfy one's desire for knowledge. So examples of that are like quiz-based TV shows of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, and Jeopardy! And then also the news is a really good way to satisfy cognitive needs, and then search engines on your phone or your computer is a good way to satisfy those needs. And then next is affective needs, which I'm probably the most guilty of. It includes emotions of like watching dramatic TV shows or movies. In the area that I'm most guilty of is the Facebook videos that are super funny, or the ones that get me every time are the like service people coming home to see their families. I always cry. So usually when I have a bad day, I hit up some affective needs in the Facebook videos. And then personal integrative needs are kind of more of a self-esteem area type of satisfaction. So people watch media to see what's in so that they can stay on the in and stay popular and improve their status based off of that. And then social integrative needs, which I think are the most like uncertainty reduction theory. It encompasses the need to socialize with family and friends. So like Facebook is a great way to do that, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media sites. And it kind of takes away the need for social gatherings because you're constantly interacting. So I know in the past, like high school reunions were a big deal, but now that everyone's becoming friends on social media, it's not such a big deal because you kind of already know what's going on. So I think a lot of the reunions are probably getting smaller and smaller because what's the point when you already know what's going on? So that was just my little opinion on that. And then the last one, I'm just going to say something short about it, is tension-free needs, which is just basically mindless. After a long day, sometimes I just want to just sit and watch Parks and Rec or The Office, my favorite TV shows, or get on Twitter and just watch funny vines. It's just kind of mindless. It's not really satisfying any cognitive or emotional needs. I'm just doing it to do it. And then next, Hayes mentioned in a study that uses in gratification is a psychological communication perspective that posits audience and members are active and goal-oriented who select media channels that satisfy their needs. And so we'll talk about later on towards the end the different ways of seeking information, but I'll get to that in a minute. And then Rubin also says that broadly, uses in gratification is an audience-centered approach, which posits that individuals have specific needs that drive selection of certain types of media. So as I was kind of saying earlier, whenever I just feel emotional or whatever, or I just need to kind of get out some stress, I go to my Facebook videos and I watch cute little animals, or I watch the sad emotional videos, and it just for some reason makes me feel better. I don't really know why. I also like pictures of animals, but you already know that. The next one is, after a study by McHale and Bloomer and Brown on traditional media, they concluded that diversion, personal relationships, personal identity, and surveillance were on the broad motives for uses in gratifications theory, which leads into some of the similarities in uncertainty reduction, because that's all about the kind of surveillance, like seeking information before you actually get to know someone to reduce uncertainty. So, uncertainty reduction theory is defined in contemporary communication as a theory that explains and predicts interpersonal communication during the beginning of an interaction. And it's still developing. And Emmers and Canary stated that how people strategically manage uncertainty in their relationships appears to be critical but under-researched. And so maybe I'll be famous someday for connecting how these two relate. Maybe they don't relate at all. I'm still kind of processing what I think about it. And so Berger and Calabrese have a lot of studies on uncertainty reduction. I guess they really think it's interesting like I do, but they have like 5 or 6 books on it. And it's based on a study off of Hyder, who also did a lot of studying on URT. They say it was developed to describe interrelationships in any dyadic exchange, which is like verbal communication, nonverbal information seeking, which is uses and gratification, intimacy, reciprocity, and similarity and liking. And then another study in a different book that they did, they have a lot of research on how people interact at the beginning of relationships to reduce uncertainty, much unlike uses and gratification, because Hyder says URT is very involved with others, where uses and gratification is solely just to please oneself. So in uses and gratification, it's just to fill that cognitive, fill that social interactive need, and then uncertainty reduction is really to kind of interact with other people, and it really involves other people, which was really interesting. And that leads into the study by Canary and Dainton that define online relationships or friendships in a way that I think can be applied to both of these theories. In online relationships, people do a lot of information seeking via email and texts and Facebook messaging, and when they finally meet, a decision point is made. And some of the relationships are fleeting and they just last the duration of a conversation, and then some develop into friendships and relationships. And everywhere on the internet, people can meet and form relationships, which is just crazy to me how much our generation and world is developing and changing, and how easily people can be friends who have never met before. That's just crazy because of just the online way of things. And so I think this reflects social integrative need from uses and gratification, and also the information seeking need of both theories. And so kind of a few last things on the study that I kind of looked into, a couple different studies. Heath and Bryant stated in the study of uncertainty reduction theory that people don't like to feel uncertain, obviously. It produces emotional and cognitive discomfort. For that reason, they seek and remember information to help them cope with their social and physical worlds, which kind of goes along again with social integrative. I think those two are very, very in line with each other, and that's kind of the theory that uncertainty reduction uses, the social integrative area of uses and gratification to kind of satisfy their and ease their uncertainty. And then another study by Berger and Calabrese show a difference between the two, because in URT, strangers use less information-seeking communication as they begin to know each other more, and as the relationship develops, they feel less a need to like interrogate the person that they're with, where uses and gratification never stops seeking that information, because that's the whole point of uses and gratification, is just to constantly seek information to kind of please you, I guess. And then Berger and Calabrese also have a few different studies on like the strategies that people use to seek information, which I talked about earlier. And the 3 strategies are the passive, active, and interactive strategies. Passive strategies involve people watching, which I love to do. I love to go to the mall and people watch. It's always interesting to me. But there's no actual interaction occurring, and you go unnoticed in watching that person. You're just kind of picking up information from what you can see on the surface. And then the active strategy, which I think is very much like the uses and gratification theory, but in uncertainty reduction, active information seeking strategies is where you're still not talking to the person that you're seeking information about, but you're talking to, or you're finding information from a third party. So whether that's social media or that person's friends or family, you're finding out information about them without actually talking to them. And then the interactive strategy is where the two are having conversation and going back and forth, and both are aware of the information seeking stage, I guess. And so kind of to make myself understand that, I kind of went from whenever you first see a person, you are in the active or the passive strategy. So if I saw a friend and I was like, or someone that I don't know, and I look at them, it's passive, kind of seeing what I think about them, and then it goes into the active strategy if I kind of want to learn more about them, which in a romantic relationship would be like creeping on them on social media, which I'm guilty of. And then in the interactive, that's whenever they would go on a date or something, and you kind of get to have that Q&A time. And so uses and gratification is kind of, it only uses one of those strategies, which is the active, as I said earlier. And then Parks and Alderman researched and tested URT as it applies to romantic relationships, and they said that all relationships are embedded within a larger social network or framework composed of each partner's separate communication networks in relationships. And they suggested that individual networks help reduce uncertainty by providing third-party information. And so that active stage of finding that third-party information. And then I kind of pulled from that URT is more for long-term satisfaction of, do I like this person? Do I want to continue being their friend long-term? Where uses and gratification is just temporary of, oh, that was a good video, and then it's over. And so that's kind of what I learned from my research project, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I think I went a little over time, but I'm surprised at myself and proud of myself. Okay, bye.